All right, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Hope everybody's having a great day today and enjoying this nice weather we've been having this week. We are going to go ahead and begin our Teacher Leader Summit Call for Presentations webinar. My name is Mia Mathern. I serve as Executive Director of Teaching and Learning at the LDOE, and happy to have everyone all on today. And I'm going to take you through important information as it relates to being presenters for Teacher Leader Summit. I do think that my colleagues have been dropping links in the chat, so you can access those there. But first off, I would like to start by saying that we are definitely grateful for the hundreds of educators and organizations who share their knowledge, skill, and expertise designing and leading sessions each year. We at the LDOE are certainly thankful for your partnership, and we could not do this without you. This would not be a successful event without all of the fantastic presentations that teachers and school leaders and system leaders have access to each year at Teacher Leader Summit. So thank you so much for joining us today. Next, we'll go ahead and go through the agenda. So we'll talk just a little bit about our theme this year, which you saw on the first slide, but we'll talk a little bit further about that. We'll talk about the summit schedule, essential professional structures, qualities of successful presenter applications, the call for proposals process, the slide deck presentation expectations, session materials. We'll have a timeline at the end where I'll share some important dates with you. And then, of course, we'll have time for Q&A at the end of today's webinar. All right, so Teacher Leader Summit 2026 will be held May 26th through the 28th at the New Orleans Ernest N. Morial Convention Center. And just be reminded that it is moving back to, last week we had it like the second week in June. It is moving back to that last week in May during Memorial Day week. So just take note of our date this year. This year's theme, Big Ideas Start Here, celebrates the power of educators as innovators. Every breakthrough in learning begins with the dedication of educators. By fostering creativity and collaboration, we transform ideas into impact, shaping lasting change in classrooms and brighter futures for every single student across the state of Louisiana. We do have information that will be housed on our landing page throughout the year. So just be sure to access the landing page, the Teacher Leader Summit landing page, just to stay up to date and most current with everything there. All right, next we're going to move on to the schedules. So this is the schedule for day one. You'll notice that the schedule for day one is the same as last year, so not much has changed as far as our day one schedule. The session times and the breakout sessions are all the same. But moving on to day two, actually this one's the same as well. So same schedule as last year as well for day two. It's a day three that has some changes. So just note that there are a few minor changes to the schedule for day three. Although the session times remain the same, please note that we will have time for t-shirt distribution on the third day. Usually we do not offer t-shirt distribution on the third day. Usually we wrap that up on day two, but we will have t-shirt distribution. Also, please note that this is new to Teacher Leader Summit 2026. We have extended the Education Expo to day three as well. So usually that wrapped up at the end of day two, but we are extending the Education Expo to day three, giving participants more time to engage with our approved expo vendor. So we do hope that, I know if you are a presenter, it's kind of tough to be able to take part in that Education Expo, but we have fantastic vendors each and every year. So I do hope that you are able to take part in that. All right, so these are the processes and the professional structures that we hope that you align your sessions to. And those include ILT, teacher collaboration, career pipelines. So those will be for sure prioritized. Also ensure that your presentation is aligned to the HQPL cycle. It could include things like observation and feedback and professional learning roadmap implementation, but also thinking about how you can ensure that your submission aligns with one or more of the LDOE's 4 trending topics, which include instructional leadership teams, teacher collaboration, career pipeline, and career and college acceleration. So as you think about the session that you would like to present, just trying to ensure that there's alignment and coherence between what you are presenting and some of these professional structures. All right, so what makes a quality session? And so first off, it is very important that all sessions are planned and turned into us on that Teacher Leader Summit 2026 session template, which you will see linked on this slide. It's also really important that your session includes objectives that are written with measurable verbs to reinforce participant action in the session. And so what we're really looking for, which I'll show you some sample objectives in a second, but what we are looking for when we are reviewing is that it is clear what attendees should know and be able to do once they leave your session. Next, we would like to see engagement. So engaging participants from beginning to end. Content should promote active learning and not slides that support any type of sit and get information. Utilize the entire hour and 10 minutes of time. And I will also say that, planning appropriately to meet that 70 minutes, but also thinking about when you're planning, it is going to be difficult if you plan a session that is 80, 90, 100 slides long. It will be difficult to get through the HQPL cycle appropriately if you have that many slides in your presentation. So also being mindful of having too many slides within your deck is important. Aligning to the Louisiana education priorities, best practices, and research, which we'll cover those priorities in a second. Incorporating time to reflect on learning and make connections to the participants' role. So whatever their role may be within their system, whether they're teachers, school leaders, system leaders, just giving that opportunity for them to reflect, being relevant to the selected audience, including opportunities for collaboration within the session. So back to that important note of not being a sit and get, allowing them and building in time for collaboration, giving participants clear, actionable steps to implement. And then finally, following the HQPL cycle, the high quality professional learning cycle, with a clear focus on the first 3 steps within the session. And so I'll talk a little bit more about the expectations within the HQPL cycle on an upcoming slide. All right, so these are the sample objectives that we wanted to provide for you. And this is just for your reference. If you're planning and you would like to have a model of what are some good objectives that we were actually able to pull from a session that was delivered last year, please note that it is clearly evident that what participants should know and be able to be expected to do with the information is ascertained from the session and is clearly evident within the session objectives. So just being sure that your verbs are, action oriented, that they're clear and measurable, and then also that it's clear to us as reviewers that we're able to see what are you expecting participants to be able to know and do once they leave your session. All right, next we're going to talk through our LDOE education priorities. And so we also think of these as we're scoring on the rubric, thinking about how your session makes connections to these priorities, or at least one priority on this slide. And those include early childhood leading to kindergarten readiness, literacy instruction aligned to the science of reading, math instruction from foundational to advanced skills, opportunities ensuring a meaningful high school experience, an effective teacher for every student, and expanding educational choice for students and families. We do ask when you submit your proposal, which of these priorities or which of a couple of these priorities are aligned to your session most clearly. All right. Next, we'll dive into the HQPL cycle and how your session should be planned using this cycle of learning. Excuse me. Next slide, please. All right. So session content should take participants through the professional learning cycle. The first 3 steps, define the purpose, receive new learning, and internalize and practice, should be clearly observable within the 70-minute session you present and prepare. You may cycle back to receive new learning as needed, but each time you do that, there should be an opportunity for the participants to internalize and practice again. So think about it like as an I do, we do, right? So, and then you do. So thinking of that gradual release model, you're going to model for individuals, you're going to have them understand your performance expectations. And then you're going to give them the opportunity to internalize and practice whatever that was, whatever that new learning was that they received. The last two steps should be provided to the participants as ways that they can implement the learning and assess the impact of the learning once the school year starts and they return to their systems or their classroom. And so just thinking about giving them some next steps. So now that this session is over, this is how you would implement this new learning that you received. This is also some ways that you would be able to assess the impact of the learning that you received today in the session that I presented, just as an example. All right, so we are still, so this information is about Session Board, which is actually how you're going to be submitting your decks and presentations, but it is an extension of the CVent app, which I know you all are familiar with the CVent app if you were at Teacher Leader Summit the last few years, but we do not currently have Session Board up and running. So the actual application form is not posted just yet. However, you can complete your deck and be ready to attach your Google slide deck as soon as the application posts. We are anticipating that the application will post by October 30th. So we did want to provide you all of this information on the front end as we're getting Session Board ready. But you'll be made aware. We're going to, post announcements and things like that for when it is posted, but also just continue going to our landing page to be kept up to date for all information. Please be sure, this is very important, that your Google Slides, when you do create them, you go into your share settings and you set it as anyone with the link can view. So just be sure that you do that before you submit. All right, next information is on slide deck presentations themselves. So applicants must submit a completed slide deck presentation utilizing, as I mentioned earlier, that provided Teacher Leader Summit 2026 template. While accepted presentations may require minor revisions, please submit a polished version for initial review. So 100% complete. Be sure to follow the required branding linked on this slide. If media is part of the presentation, please provide and ensure that all links are working. All information within the deck, especially if it is some type of media that's linked, is going to be reviewed. So just be sure that we have access to that. It is also really important that you include facilitator notes on every slide. This helps reviewers better understand the presentation as a whole and provides important context on the slide deck. Sessions are 1 hour and 10 minutes to encourage more time for engagement, as I mentioned earlier. Please be sure to note if the deck is proprietary and cannot be shared with attendees after Teacher Leader Summit 2026 has concluded. And the application window will be open until December 5th, 2025. All right, so what is required within your deck? So we have some built-in slides within our template that we're going to provide to you that you have linked on this deck, and it must include the Teacher Leader Summit 2026 cover slide with the session title. There are slides for presenter information. Those have to be kept and completed. You cannot delete or take out the education priorities. You must complete your objective slide, as we mentioned earlier. There's that visual of the HQPL cycle that we want you to introduce to participants, since your session should follow that. So just be sure that you're keeping that HQPL cycle visual slide as well. Of course, you have to have your session content, whatever you're building in. And then at the end of the session, the contact information and closing slide must be kept as well. So just be sure that you're keeping all of those slides and that you're completing all of them completely. All right. So finally, on this slide, we have some important dates. You will see a timeline of information that will be important for you if you choose to submit a presentation. Please note that new to this year's timeline are the availability of you to take part in office hours with us. So as you're going through the presentation process, as you're thinking through all of this, let's say you might have a question about how to make your session align to one of the areas of the HQPL cycle. Please go ahead and hop on one of those offerings of the office hours, and we will absolutely be here to support you. They are October 29th and November 19th. So we are offering 2 different times for you to have, come on and ask us questions. And of course, we will happily support you through the planning process. This year's presenters will be notified of acceptance by February 13th. And then registration opens on February 16th. So this modification to this year's timeline will allow approved presenters to know if their registration fee will be waived. So what we didn't want to happen is you go and register not knowing if you're approved. You pay, the registration fee, and then come to find out you had a free registration entry. So we don't want you to pay for it if you are an approved presenter. Lastly, if you are chosen to present, please note the dates and times of the mandatory presenter webinars in both February and in May. So those are non-negotiable. Those must be attended. And of course, we offer them at a few different times during the day, just like we're doing today. Okay, any questions at this point? Happy to have you unmute. Happy to have you type in the chat. If you don't know what your questions are just yet, but you do have some questions in the future, of course, hop on those office hours, as I mentioned, but you can always reach out to LDOE-events@la.gov if you do have any further questions. And I'll just hang out for a second, and you guys can let me know if y'all have any questions about anything. Yeah. Yes, we will be. Yeah. Okay, go ahead. Sorry, I was answering chat. Go ahead.
No worries. I will jump in if that's okay. I have a question for you. If we could go back a slide if possible. I know that for December 5th, the final presentations are due, but it does look like in April there is this additional deadline for final copy editing. Can you explain what kind of revisions are allowed and what that might look like?
Yeah, so we really work really closely. So what will happen is your deck will be assigned a point of contact depending on the nature of your presentation. So we have various divisions here at the LDOE that will be there to support you. So depending on what your presentation includes, you're going to be assigned to one of those offices or divisions. And then there will be a point of contact who is assigned to your session. That point of contact will be in consistent connection with you throughout the entire process. So the proposals themselves close, and your entry and your submission of your deck is due on December 5th. But then we have that entire time after that, once you're approved, to actually go through that copy editing phase. And that includes various things. That could include, minor tweaks to some of the things that we see within it. It could include actual grammatical errors that have to be fixed and altered and changed. So we just want to be sure that everything is cohesive and aligned, but also that we're not, we don't have decks that have, grammatical errors and copy editing issues before they're presented to the registrant. So any other questions on that? Did that answer your question?
That was great. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. I think we had a few in the chat.
I covered the questions in the chat.
Oh, you got it. Perfect. Oh yeah, no worries. We thought that the office hours would be helpful this year. So we decided to offer those to you guys, and I hope you hop on and we're able to support you if you have questions throughout the process. Yeah, and just so if you're not reading the chat, individuals asked about the link to the slides. They will be shared. They're going to be posted on the landing page. The submission guide is posted, and we also linked the submission guide a few times in the chat as well. So you do have access to the submission guide today, and we will be sharing the deck shortly.
And there's going to be a recording of this webinar as well on the landing page.
All right, any other questions? All right, so maybe you might not have a question in this moment, but just know that we are always here to answer questions as the year progresses, and you can go ahead and submit those questions to ldoe-events@la.gov, and we will always be happy to answer you. You're very, very welcome. Happy to have you guys. All right, if you do not have